welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cooper, and today I'm joined by the three amigos. We'll start with the main man himself, Dave Azzopardi. Dave, how are you, mate?
Yeah, keeping well, thank you, mate. I'm glad to be back on the podcast after the international break, but yeah, keeping well, thanks.
Good. I saw the other two's ears prick up when I said the main man. They weren't sure
who
it was gonna be this week, but of course, those two. I'm joined alongside Finn. Finn, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, mate. I'm used to it now. I used to argue that, but gave up a year ago. I'm the side man. Actually, don't want to be one of them at the moment. But no, yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
It was good to see you briefly on Saturday. We kept looking across at each other, just like.
As soon as Sar made a mistake, I was straight at you. See if you were lecturing people around. What he's got to do there is.
It's just like that. For those who listen on Spotify or Apple, I was me on the touchline giving instructions. One of those moments you probably should have been there. And of course, we're joined by Jord. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you for asking. It's a pity that we've got to talk about the game because I don't really want to. It was a shambles. But we will be talking about the Forest versus Wolves game. We'll be previewing Wolves versus Chelsea as well. And of course, we'll be taking some of your questions. But Dave, let's start with Forest versus Wolves at the weekend. 1-1, 5 changes. Nunes, Moutinho, Kuna, and Dama, and Totti Gomez coming in. Totti at left back. What were your thoughts? What were your thoughts on that? I thought once that lineup was announced, it screamed 3 subs at half time, which was wrong. It was only 2. But
no, when there's a few people throwing about their predicted lineup, and obviously we do ours on the preview as well. And there was quite a few on Twitter, and I agreed with. I wasn't expecting a 4-2-3-1 as such because I thought away from home, we'd probably be a little bit more cautious. But I certainly hope to see some sort of 4-3-3, a little bit more attacking than what it was. You would have assumed Aït-Nouri or Bueno would have started left back. So when I saw that team, I was really, really surprised. Obviously, 4 central midfielders on paper starting, Totti starting, and with Totti on the team sheet, I didn't really know what shape we were going to go for, if we were going to be clever, almost push into a back three and be quite clever with Nelson Semedo pushing up to the attack and moving Totti across to a back three. There were loads of things going through my head. Well, obviously it turned out just to be a pretty standard 4-3-3, but Nunes out at left wing again, which was I don't know, frustrating. To be fair, I thought we had a couple of decent spells throughout the game. I know, again, he's always a talking point every week because we want to see more from him. And Totti, I thought had an okay game. I know we briefly discussed it before we started the podcast. I thought he had an okay game. But again, as a left back, I think we could have done a lot more going forward throughout the game. And having Bueno, I thought Bueno was a big boost to the team when he came on the pitch.
Definitely. Finn, we spoke briefly in the concourse about the lineup. What were your initial thoughts? Were they the same as mine? Definitely making changes at half time.
Oh, yeah. It screamed 5 subs at 1 minute past 3, didn't it? I think every week. I mean, it's funny, even last week, 2 weeks ago, we spent time, didn't we, putting together a best 11 on the podcast, and it couldn't have been further from it, really. And I had flashbacks to that cup game as well, where I think we went with the 5 at the back against Forest in Lopetegui's first 2 games, and it was horrendous. Then swapped to the 4 and played much better. So I was fearing the same, but yeah, it was more of a back 4. But as you say, Totti did a job, but it's just square pegs and round holes everywhere. That whole left side, it was hard to see really in that first half from where we were sat, but you were getting nothing from Totti and Nunes because it's a centre back at left back and it's a centre mid on the left wing. So it's just square pegs and round holes everywhere. You've got Lamina almost acting as a Connor Cody. You've got just several square pegs, and the performance went as we all sort of predicted in that first half.
Jord, I thought that Totti at left back probably offered more than Johnny has in recent weeks. I don't know what you thought. I mean, he was still pretty poor as well, which probably says a bit more about Johnny than it does Totti Gomez, but.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think Lee Naylor could come out of retirement off more than Johnny right now as well, and he's been retired for about 10 years.
Bless him.
But the thing with Lopetegui at the moment, for me, I don't think he could pick his nose straight. To be honest with you, it's he's just his team. His selections are so bad, and what I don't understand with it is we all see it. I don't understand how he can't see it. Like Finn mentioned, like we picked our like best 11 or strongest 11 or whatever collectively before the international break, and we couldn't be any further from that 11 compared to the one that started on the weekend. It was chalk and cheese. Totti was okay, square peg in a round hole, but you got Bueno, you got Aitnery, where there was obviously something going on there. It's not like we've got an injury crisis where there isn't players that can play these positions. It was just so disjointed, and I'll be honest with you now. I'm sick of him wheeling out Moutinho for every away game as well, and playing him and pushing him up the pitch because we know it doesn't work. But every time we play away from home, you notice it now. Moutinho starts, and he'll play in that unconventional number 10 or whatever you want to call it, and it just really, really doesn't work for me. And again, there's been a bit of a criticism for Lopetegui over the weekend on social media, which is absolutely pony for me, about getting rid of him, swapping him for Potter or Rodgers or anyone like that. But he has got to start doing better from the start, because the team selections for probably the last 3-4 weeks have been, or the last 3-4 games, should I say, have been completely wrong from the start. And you're almost handicapping yourself from minute one.
Yeah, you are right there, but I mean, Dave, we spoke. Well, I think I messaged the group chat halfway through the first half, and I said, "Look, this is absolutely awful." And you said, "I don't think we're playing that badly." Do you still feel that was? I think, you know what, the bar is that low at the minute. If we haven't conceded after like 25, 30 minutes and we're still in the game, or we have a couple of chances, we're doing all right. But Forest were terrible.
Yeah, I think Forest are poor. I know obviously we beat them. We beat them under Steve Davies, and we were really poor on Saturday. But I spoke to a number of Premier League fans, and they say the same thing, that whenever they watch Forest or see Forest play, they are very, very poor. I think they've been very fortunate that their home form has been as solid as it has been. But I think even in the second half, even at 1-0, the team that were looking, despite all our possession, the team that were looking most likely to score were Forest, because whenever they were picking up, they looked really dangerous on the breakaway. I thought we started off quite brightly, and I know we mentioned Nunez and Totti there on the left-hand side, which again, it surprises me with Nunez, because when you've got Neto on the bench, you've got Podence on the bench, you've got Jimenez or Costa, and you could always play Cunha out on the left as well. It's surprising that he's still almost shoehorning Nunez into that role. But I thought we had a lot of joy down that left-hand side. I thought Totti did fairly well, and two of our best opportunities came down that sort of side. The one, I think Nunez crossed it in, and the Forest defender headed it across the bar, and there was another chance just at the back post on that side as well. I can't think who it was. I think it might have been Cunha when Nico Williams and Keylor Navas had collided with each other as well. So we created a couple of opportunities first half, but I think as soon as we allowed them to get some of the possession, that's obviously when they punished us. And I know we'll come on to the goal, but I think everyone from the midfield back has got to be doing better to avoid conceding that goal.
I watched that game, Finn, and for me, there was no kind of clear plan or kind of modus operandi as how we want to play. It's just, and you may say, well, that is the clear plan, but all I could see was a long diagonal every single time, where the inside forwards, the centre mids would almost dart in field and take a full back away. But then as soon as we got into those positions where you're able to deliver a ball into the box, either A, go back, or B, there's no one in the box to deliver it to. It was just awful to watch. I don't know what you feel about that.
Yeah, it was. We had a good view of that long diagonal that kept getting hammered. And I think the initial plan, with all the money that we've spent, it was give it to the bloke with 6 months left on his contract. And they were trying to get down that right side with Adama. Yeah. And there was a few. I mean, at home, we'd have got a few more decisions. There was one where they literally rugby tackled him off the pitch so he couldn't run onto a ball with Adama. So we quickly realised we weren't getting any joy there. And as you say, then there was no real plan after that first 10, 15 minutes of trying the Adama and pray. So yeah, there was just nothing in that first half. And as we said, there's always subs at half time, but this game especially needed a few.
Yeah, it was that diagonal, like we said, was just the only option. Jord, what did you think of that, mate? Could you see a clear way of trying to play?
There's no pattern to play, like you say. You watch a lot of teams, a lot of good teams are highly structured, and that doesn't mean you have to be necessarily rigid, but you know exactly what they're trying to do. There's patterns of play, there's movement, there's almost like pockets to play in, and they go make themselves and get themselves up the pitch. With us, it was exactly that. Every time Troy's on the pitch, and it's not his fault, we just go, shit, let's just give the ball to Troy and hope he does something magic with it, and get outcrowded, outnumbered, and more often than not, it doesn't come off, it doesn't pay off for him. It's just so poor. Like, this team, it's so poor. And for me, it's another thing of the players on that pitch are too culpable for just trying to pass the buck. That no one in that team really, definitely no one in that starting 11 takes risks, takes chances, plays a ball through the lines, gambles on the last man. It's all so safe. And like, there's a graph I saw earlier on Twitter with like I think we made like 736 passes or something, and like all the arrows are like sort of 40 yards away from Forest goals and further back. Like, we barely played any passes into the box. Like, it's so safe. It's just so rigid and so it's crap. Like, I want to stick up for him, but you know what? It's crap. There's no imagination in that 11, and I feel like it's been almost kicked out of them, almost like with the Nuno regime and almost playing with Bruno as well. Like, it's just any imagination in these players who are meant to have like a bit about them. It's just all gone. It's rubbish.
They just look like a team completely void of confidence and scared to make a mistake. But I thought Forest were poor, but they broke with purpose. If it was any better team, I think it could have been 4 or 5, just because of the chances they had when they broke away. Thankfully for us, they're as shit as we are. But Dave, let's talk about the goal. You said that the move should have been stopped before it got to that. I agree, but I know it's going to be goalkeepers union again. But I think Sarr there, he's caught in two minds, and he's caught at the halfway house, and he's all over the place. But then you could say that Totti Gomes probably should have been a bit more aware.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Sarr has got to be doing better. Like, if you're coming off your line there, you got to commit. Because I think if he carries on his run and closes Brennan Johnson down, it makes it very difficult. It makes it a much more difficult shot. But because he's sort of in two minds, there's almost backpedaling, that's when he's off balance, and that's how Brennan Johnson's got it through his legs. But I think there were 2 or 3 instances. I can't really comment much on the Totti Gomes thing, because I suppose when a player's running in from that side, they've got to be doing better. But I've not watched the goal back, so I don't know in terms of Totti's positioning, whereabouts he was. But I think Neves had 2 attempts where he probably should have done a little bit better. I think he was unfortunate with the one because he actually won the ball and he bounced back off the player. I think Lamina got beat for the one challenge as well. So he shouldn't have even got into the box really before then. But I do agree. I think Sarr does have to be doing better. But yeah, Brennan Johnson is... For a debut season in the Premier League, he's got some really decent numbers. And I said it on the reaction. If Forest go down, even if they stay up, I think they'll do well to keep hold of him for next year.
Yeah, he looks a good player. I thought Gibbs White in the first half looked good as well. He linked the play, but it almost felt like he had the freedom of the City ground to do so anyway.
Yeah, a lot of people gave him praise after the game, Gibbs White, and I think that's almost a little bit like what we lacked. And again, we'll come on to the second half, but when we had all the possession, when I was watching it, I just thought you got your back 4, but then in front of them there was absolutely no one. Like, and
so
that's my frustration with the midfield. Like, some seriously talented players in that midfield, but they I think are partly to blame for our lack of goals, because we need more creativity from there. And that's why it'll be quite intriguing with no Neves the next couple of weeks to see how the midfield changes, because someone like a Morgan Gibbs White would come deep to get the ball, quick turn, lay it off, and you get further up the pitch quicker, and Wolves are just too slow, like you say, too static, no urgency.
Yeah, but everyone says, Morgan Gibbs White was a player that we needed, and we sold him from under our own noses. But you put him in that team, and it's static. It's the way we set up. It's so risk averse. They don't want to take risks because they're scared. And again, I think it's a confidence thing. But I saw in the second half when we had a corner, I think it was just before the goal. Couldn't you come to the away end? It was going like, come on,
Yeah.
And like pretty much everyone around me said, like, oh, show us something then. Like, show us something to get behind, because it was that where I was studied, it was pretty rotten in the away end. It was just constant whinging, like this is crap. And then you get the shouts of play it forward and, you know, and all the archaic kind of shouts. But like, I actually agreed with them, and it wasn't nice. And at half time, it was, I don't see where the next point's coming from. So,
do you think? I know. I've mentioned this before, and I think we've got every right to be upset with the level of performances at the moment. But do you think, as Wolves fans, over the last few years, we've been spoiled in terms of how good, before COVID, especially how good we were, and how quickly we rose up the league, and then all of a sudden we've come back and we've become this really boring to watch team that doesn't score goals. And I think that's part of the issue. Like with the atmosphere as well, we've become almost used to watching a team that are exciting to watch. Even in games where we were the underdog, you knew we'd still have a bit of a go. And I think that's part of the issue now. With people are still buying tickets to matches because we think, and with the players we've got as well, we're thinking, hold on, they might actually turn up today, and that's what's happening. But yeah, I know you explained one of the guys that was sat near to you, Matt. He sat next to us at a Villa game earlier this year, and he did my head in there. So I don't envy you for Saturday, to be fair.
Yeah, I had tinnitus ringing for most of the day. It was hard work. But I mean, I sat down for I think there was like a 1-2 in the second half, and like Nunes just passed it straight out of play. And I just sat down, my hands in my head, and I thought, this can't get any worse. This is before we'd scored. But Jord, what are your thoughts on the goal? Do you have a different kind of analysis of what Dave said there?
No, I think it was just a really poor goal to concede. I think he's in the right position, but his body position's wrong, if that makes sense. Like,
I think he's
in a decent position. Yeah, he gets sucked under the ball. His body position's wrong to react, but again, that might be because he's normally square on and centre half rather than sort of on the half turn a little bit. So I just run out of words for him. He does my head in. I don't think he's a good goalkeeper. I've said this for so many times on this podcast. He'd come back from COVID after the World Cup. He had a few real good performances, but he's a liability. He's nowhere near good enough. And like, granted, he was better at coming off his line than Rui Patricio, but he's like, for me, he's nowhere near the level of Patricio at all. And it's just like indecisiveness. He's just so poor for the goal. He does nothing. Like, you've either got to come or commit to staying on your line and make yourself big. And he sort of comes out, stops. It makes it so easy for Johnson. And yeah, it's just a really, really poor goal to concede for me personally. But everyone we deserved. We could have been 3 or 4 at half time, easily, like you said.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been a few times over the last couple of seasons where Sar's been caught out from being indecisive, mostly giving away penalties. Remember, there was a spell last season where it felt like every game he was giving away a penalty because he was caught in 2 minds. But with that, you're exactly right what you say there, Dave, about him being off balance. He's caught in 2 minds and he thinks, shit, I need to get back to my line, and he can't set. He's on the move, and if you're on the move, you can't dive. No. So it's a real poor one to concede. But second half, chaps, did you feel there was any improvement, Finn? I'll come to you first, mate. Any improvement for the second half? Podence and Sarabia came on for Martinho and Lamina.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was. Yeah. Well, the not necessarily the changes I would have made, but I'd have taken 2 midfielders off this 4 centre midfielders thing. I know we've brushed across the actual team, but it hasn't worked yet so far. So it's good to see 2 almost wingers come on, and then they're 2 that can interchange as well, Podence and Sarabia, from wide to then in the 10. And as we were saying in that first half, you see Gibbs White trying to break lines with movement or past their players that can do it. So there were changes that you think would make an impact, but from what I can remember, not much change. We still kept the ball, still did nothing with it. We were shooting towards ourselves, weren't we? But I don't remember seeing much of the ball, so that can't have been good, because it was down that far end. So no, didn't change much. But are we going to quickly skip to the goal and say we had a shot for once? And sometimes you get a bit of fortune from a deflection, and bang, for all his faults. Sometimes when Podence is in that position, he's probably in the top 3, maybe top 1. I'm going to give him top 1. He is the one player I'd back to score from that situation. I think you could see it in slow-mo from where we were, Matt, that you knew exactly what he was going to do, and I'm shocked the defender committed so easily, because he's only got that right foot. You could see, right, it's going to be the cut inside, bang, and it's a goal. So, yeah, he's been so frustrating this year, and we've said we need someone to unlock the lines, but I'd rather not have Podence on the pitch doing his back heels and his flicks and all that. But yeah, in that position,
I mean, that cut inside, I think we could have probably forecast that about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was screaming for him to shoot on his left foot, to be fair. I was like, what's he doing?
You were screaming for him to not back heel it.
Yeah.
Get blocked on Twitter again.
Blocked on Instagram next time.
Dave will be fuming. We've drawn, but at what cost? It's such a good finish though, but I hate to be like negative, but the only way we were going to create an opportunity is through a deflected shot. And obviously Costa's done well to lay the ball off, and I've seen quite a lot of people on Twitter say Costa had like a great impact when he came on. I mean, Jord, I didn't really see that, but
he was okay, but he made an impact because it was that bad beforehand. And another thing that Lopetegui's got to get right, which we've been saying on this podcast for weeks, and what a lot of Wolves fans say on Twitter is like Mateus Cunha ain't a number 9 as long as I've got a hole in my arse. Like he's just not a number 9, is he? At all. Like at all. So bad. Like he's a good player, but he ain't a number 9. Like it's stupid.
You can see when he drops a bit deeper though, like he looks so much more comfortable.
He's got
like
quality.
Facing goal.
His link up play, I think.
Yeah.
But Costa did okay. Like I say, Pedence took his goal well. He took it well. But I'll be honest with you, that's probably the best point we're ever going to make this season, honest to God, because we deserve nothing. Like from that game, the fact we've come away with something, and I mean, like you can say about the possession stats, it's all passing for vanity. I don't know what the hell Ruben Neves was saying in his post-match interview, saying we battered them and all this sort of stuff. Like Lopetegui must have them all on Looper Juice or something, or Rehypnol or something, because they ain't watching the same games as we are. It's fucking crap, the sleepwalk through games. But yeah, look, back to it. Pedence took his goal well. Still would rather, I still don't like the guy, but you are right. He can be composed in those positions, and he put it in the back of the net. So what can you motivate?
If that falls to anyone else, though, do you think that the ball ends up in the back of the net?
No, if it went to Costa, it'd end up on Hooters car park.
How do you know they've got a car park, Jordan?
I may have visited there a few times. You're right. Hey, I've been.
We could get a job in there, Jordan.
Probably could actually, yeah.
We could.
Couple double B's, B cups.
A Christmas temp. You fancy it? But yeah, it was a great finish. Nice little celebration as well from Pedence in front of the away end. Dave, he's a little bit of a shit house. I didn't notice until earlier when I was watching the highlights back that Brennan Johnson did it when he scored as well.
Yeah, they did. That's why I was fuming. I thought like it's brave from them to do that so early in the game as well. Yeah. But yeah, fair play for him returning the favour. We haven't really touched much on the penalty or so-called penalty incident either. The Adama one earlier on in the game.
I don't think it's a penalty.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough in it for him to go down, but I think it's one of them. If the referee gives it, VAR aren't reversing the decision. I think they're sticking with the penalty.
Just to give the other side, though, because me too. But on the flip side, because on the coach back, people were saying, "Oh, it's never a penalty. He's so strong. You can't be going down like that." Strength and balance are two he gets put. You know what I mean? I don't think, and it comes back to that thing of does Adama get sort of punished for his strength almost? It's he should be able to take a shirt puller or whatever like that. Who was it? Not Holgate.
Rob Holding.
What's his name? Rob Holding. That's the one.
Yeah.
That clip.
Like
It's like he should be able to take anything just because he's that size. So for me, you never see them giving the little cheeky pushes. But I think, I agree with David who was given. I don't think they can overturn it. It's not. You can't strength the way being pushed over. Do you know what I mean? But
when you're running at the speed that he's running at, and then you got someone like Felipe leaning on you, who's a unit as big as they come, then you are going to go down. I still don't think it's a penalty. What do you reckon, Jord?
Probably not enough in it, is there? I get all people on Twitter saying, "Oh, it's another apology incoming." Like football's a contact sport. At the end of the day, like It is though, and it like not every bit of contact's a penalty. And yes, I'm sick of it. Yeah, we have had some bad decisions, but it doesn't mean that everything's a penalty. Yeah. Same with like the Man City Liverpool game. The crowd, the ref. Oh look, there's more than 3 people there. I'm sick of it. I'm bored of it. Like, honestly, this whole season for me now, I've had enough.
I was doing it in the away end of Forest. 7 ref. 7,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. You're on the list as well, Finn. You can stop it as well. Because honestly, I've had enough this season. Please get
it's true though. I think
league.
They made that rule up after Lamine got sent off, I'm sure, just so they had something to lean back on. I've never seen that ever put into place again since or before. So,
like, unless Lamina said something about the referees, like misses that he knows he's true, he doesn't want to come out in the public. Like, there's no other reason as to what he's booked in for crowding the referee. But I agree, Jordan. I'm sick of hearing about it. But the Brennan Johnson one that he got booked for diving, I've not seen it back. But from when the referee put his whistle in his mouth and blew, it felt about 4 days before where he pointed. Well, it was horrible.
The thing is, Totti was all over him on the outside the area. Before, yeah. And then as Totti let go, I think Brennan Johnson was anticipating contact again, and that's when he went down. I thought it was a really, really good shout from the ref. Because when he blew, I thought, fuck it, because it would have been obviously chance for 2-0. But he was a really good referee, for a change.
Yeah.
He liked his bookings, though, didn't he? He chucked out a few of those.
Yeah, well, he obviously booked Neves, which means he'll be out for the next 2 games. But it might, I don't know, it might unlock us a little bit more. Like, you never know these things there. It probably won't, but it'll be, maybe.
I think the same. I think as stupid as it sounds, I think it might do us a favour. And I mean that in terms of, like, because Neves, I mean, he was playing, if he was played any deeper on the weekend, he'd have ended up, like, in the Trent swimming. It might actually do us a favour. Just,
something different.
Think, you know what? We'll play with one older midfielder. Bring Nunes inside with João Gomez, and then just see what happens.
No. You know who's going to replace Neves. You know who's going to replace Neves? João Moutinho. He'll bring a winger in and pick Moutinho alongside Nunes. But that would be Lamina, Nunes, even Boubacar if he's fit enough to play a part. Yeah.
I'd like to see a bit of
some legs in there. It'd be nice to see.
Bit of booby at the weekend. Yeah. I don't know about you guys. Could have had some nooses last weekend. Let's talk about the Podence spitting, blowing, kissing incident. I know, Dave, when I watched your match reaction back, it was like, there's no room for that in the game. It's disgusting. And I hope they give him a lengthy ban.
I did not say that. He blocked me on Twitter to give him an extra game.
What are your thoughts on it? I know that Brennan Johnson doesn't want to talk about it, which usually symbolises that it didn't happen.
Yeah,
but they're investigating it, but we've not heard anything since.
So, from my point of view, obviously I did the reaction right after the game, and I was watching a stream which was definitely like 360p, so I could just see the motion of a potential spit, but I could not see any saliva exit his mouth. So I thought, oh no. When the VAR, I was like, that's a definite red. That's when I messaged you. Like I said, he's an idiot. It's a red. So that's when I did the video, and I brought it up at the very end because I did forget about it. And I said, if he's done it, there is no room for that in the game. That is disgusting. And then all these pages started tweeting about it, and I thought, oh no. So that's when I quoted it, and then I had some bloke go, "Why are you adding fuel to the fire? Why are you bringing this to attention more?" So what the fuck? He goes, "Brennan Johnson said he's not done it." I said, "Yeah, about 2 hours after I fucking put the tweet out." So
then you replied to the tweet with, "Oh, it doesn't look like he's done it actually."
No. Yeah. The Brennan Johnson interview for me, if he's adamant he's spat at him, he would. I think he'd say something, but there wasn't enough reaction to be. In hindsight, there's not enough reaction on the pitch. I think Brennan Johnson would make more of a meal of it in the interview, but then he puts like this some cryptic like Instagram story out as well. So I don't know. Like I said, I think there would have been a much bigger deal on the pitch if he were to spit at him.
Yeah, I mean, it it does look like a spitting motion, but going to spit at someone isn't a red card offence. So
Well, have you seen? Because I thought at the time when you watched the video, and it is quite, let alone David.
You're right, Dave. What are you doing?
I'm trying to practice.
He's trying to do it, innit?
He
I'm trying to see what he could have said.
Something with a P.
Yeah. I don't know what he would have said.
You're not reckon he could have
Someone said he was like blowing at him.
Yo,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That meme, innit, where he's like,
you join the lips together.
I don't think for them to
but on his celebration as well, Pedent. Have you seen the picture of him celebrating while he's like mid things in there? I don't know why he was moving his mouth so weirdly the whole game, but he's like that's a bad impression, but he's doing that same sort of thing. Yeah, so I don't know what he was doing. If you watch the video, he does the same sort of thing again. So I don't know what he was on, but yeah, the VAR checks no saliva. So yeah, as you say, it's not an offence.
I think they'll back the referee on that. I can't see how they would, unless they've got some 4K cameras that they never use, just to look at incidents like that. But I think he'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah,
like this.
It doesn't.
See, like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Sorry for the audio listeners.
Yeah, I mean, if he hasn't spat at him, and there's no offences there. But how do you prove that someone spat unless you're getting a DNA sample off his shirt? Like, if they've checked it through VAR, like you said, Dave, surely they haven't got any more camera angles they can look at.
No, I think you see that not Stoke fan, that Forest fan that got the picture, and there's like a speck of dust. Like you don't even know what it is. It could be something on the lens or like a blade of grass. Yeah. It's like, there you go, clear and obvious. And then I look at his profile. He's like a football analyst. I thought, fuck me, I don't want to read your analysis. It would be a load of crap if that's clear and obvious. So yeah, I think he should be fine.
Yeah, quite a bit of trouble after the game from what I hear as well. He got quite a bit tasty.
Well, has Finn been told his vlogs are shit again?
Yeah, someone
It was nice to see him.
After the
after
Leeds.
Forest is. We're on about Forest, Jord.
I don't know.
Yeah. What trouble? You was on that trouble? What game?
Me,
Jord. Yeah.
Jord.
Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm here. Don't worry. Oh no, it's not. No, I was saying there was trouble after the quarterfinal as well, though, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah.
The shitloads. The stewards were getting involved, and the police started arresting the stewards, which is
really stupid.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
It's a weird setup outside the ground as well, isn't it, for Forest? Like, it's because they'd sort of penned us in that one bit, but then there was trouble just outside where they then started to merge shock. It's almost like they should do better, but
I don't get why at Forest they put one gate open for away fans to walk through, but also put the coaches through the same gate. So you literally you have to dodge a few coaches because all
they're all beeping, weren't they? Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
Stupid.
Backwards club. Anyway, Betmate, Saturday 3 p.m. It was £3 in for your chance to win the share of £300, and a big congratulations to Geordie Moore and Toby, who came joint top and won £67.50 each. From the Talking Walls boys, only Dave finished in the paid places. He came 16th and won a grand total of £420. Did you blaze it?
Yeah, blaze it up, man.
Yeah. How do you feel, mate? What have you spent it on?
I don't know what that can get me nowadays. Just about a meal deal, something like that. So
you might get a Freddo for that, mate.
No, I had a good team. I thought I had like Matoma in there, Jesus. I put in there quite late on. Obviously quite well for Arsenal. So yeah, I did all right. Not too bad.
Yeah. Say you buy a meal deal with that, Dave. What was your go-to meal deal? Just a bit of bonus content halfway through the podcast before we segue into Chelsea.
My local shop by work is a Sainsbury's, so I know they're obviously better meal deal venues out there, but mine is normally a chicken salad sandwich, a Pepsi Max, and a chili heatwave Doritos.
I mean, I better ask you two as well, because
I used to be partial to a cheese ploughman's, but it just depends what day it is, really.
Has the ploughman's got piccalilli on it, do you know?
Like pickle, yeah. No, not Piccadilly, like pickle.
Piccalilli.
Right, yeah.
Finn, you strike me as a just ham, no mayo, really salty kind of guy.
Water.
Well, that is
Egg and crisp.
Well, that's the problem because I don't like. Well, you lot know this from our trips to Wolverhampton establishments. That well, that sounds dodgy. Food places. That I don't like mayo. I don't like mayo, and a lot of meal deal sandwiches have mayo on. I can stomach it on some of them, like BLT, or sometimes the breakfast ones. You can dodge it, but literally sometimes the only option is like the just ham, which is a shame. Or if you do like the premium meal, there's sometimes the way around it. But I'm not fussed on like sushi and all that you can get as well. So it's tricky. But I like the Pepsi Max shout from Dave. I'd be a Pepsi Max as well. And then I think we've discussed Chris before. If I know I'm not seeing many people in a day, I love a flame grilled steak, but it's just not worth the breath. So I'll go salt and vinegar if it's not.
And what sandwich did you say?
I don't have one solid one. I can't. I'll go BLT.
BLT. What about you, Jord?
I'll probably go for a chicken, bacon, and stuffing sandwich.
Oh, shout, yeah.
It
has mayo on it. Yeah.
Then I'll go for a pack of salt and vinegar discos. And then
Do they even have that in the meal deal?
In a Tesco meal deal, they do. Absolutely. And then I would go for, previously would go for a full fat Coke, but I probably would go for a water now, It'd be a bit boring.
Yeah.
Oh, he's changed, man. Yeah, the Buxton.
Health kick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big up the smart water.
Yeah. Does it make you any more smarter?
I'm very intellectual now.
Yeah, you are, to be fair. You've got your wits
Thank you,
about you. Do they, in
Thanks,
Tesco's, they used to do a Southern Fried Chicken Chipotle mayo sub. Have you ever had that, George?
They did, yeah. I haven't, but
I think they've stopped doing it, but they were excellent. But I'm a chicken and bacon sub, man. Maybe some flame grilled steak McCoys or some cheese and onion Walkers. Don't really care who I see. If they're on the menu, I don't care. And then I'll have a water. I can't drink like sugary drinks. It just I get like a come down from it. It's horrendous. Like it's like when you have like a takeaway, you feel great for 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden you've crashed. Yeah, you have. I mean, I wish we could talk about this at greater length because we're going to have to preview the Wolves Chelsea game now. But let's talk about that, Dave. Chelsea looked a bit of a shoo-in for 3 points after watching them against Villa on Saturday, but now, of course, they've sacked Graham Potter. Do you think that means advantage Chelsea?
Not necessarily. I think, they're still going to be fragile. They're still not going to be 100% know the way they're going to want to play. I think I wouldn't be surprised they do Liverpool this week. But I still think we've got a chance at home. I think we've got a chance. Just part of me thinks we'll get something out of that game. But they have. I know they've been crap this year, but they've got some really, really good footballers. I think obviously João Felix, even Mudryk. Yeah, I know he's not really got going yet in the Premier League. I think he's got that quality, but they've got very good players throughout the team. It's just up to Wolves to show up. But I think they're there for the taking. I think we can definitely get something out of the game.
Finn, are you as optimistic as Dave? Because I know I certainly aren't.
Yeah, it's not great timing. And I saw Kante was back on the highlights as well. He came on as a sub, so that worries me as well if he's in there. But yeah, it's just that sort of game in it where Mudryk, I saw that Mudryk finish as well. He's been so poor. There's been flashes from João Felix. I've never rated Havertz. It just feels like when we need it, like this is going to be one where they all suddenly find their feet and all become the various £100 million players. And I really hope not. And there's not much evidence of them living up to those values yet. And obviously it's all in that for the future and they're building their young super squad. But there's still players in there to scare me on their potential. But no, yeah, I'm not that scared. To sum up, I'm going in a little bit positively. To be fair, with the Forest game, it stuck with me. A guy, it's one of my mates' granddads, got on the coach and he went, "I've said all season there's 3 worse teams than us. We won't go down." He said, "Even though we've just got a point, it's the first time I feel like there isn't." And that stuck with me since. And I think it's a little bit of an overreaction, but honestly, we were horrendous. Chelsea were horrendous, and they've had that sort of changing fortunes, unless we sack Lopetegui and get Potter in before the game and have that bounce as well. So, but no, yeah, I think I'd take a draw to sum up those feelings, those mixed emotions.
George, just a quick one on Michaela Mudryk. What do you think of his haircut?
I think he's stole it on you, to be honest.
I think he has as well.
I think he went into the local barber shop on the King's Road and went, "I want the Cooper."
I've seen this bloke who does ticker. and I really want his trim. Are you confident? Are you as confident as these two for Saturday, or do you kind of share my thoughts and feelings?
I just feel like they're going to click at some point, and I've followed Wolverhampton one just for long enough to know that when the team's about to click, it usually happens against us. So
Feels like it.
I feel we could get a right dicking, to be quite honest.
Oh,
Thing you say about three teams worse than us, but like Leicester are absolutely awful at the minute, but they put 4 past us.
yeah, I know. And it's weird because every season there's a team, isn't there, where you go, they're gone. It's a Norwich or a Fulham or whoever. Because there hasn't been one this season, everyone's been so keen. Like I remember at one point, Southampton and Bournemouth are gone because it's just natural for us to go, right, someone's gone. Who's the rest? All of us are in the mix, and I can't differentiate. And they're all. I mean, this is the most sackings in a Premier League season, isn't it, so far? I think Lopetegui must be like top 10 longest serving coming up
11,
to.
I think. How is it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
With 3 answers.
Yeah, there's a lot. Did you know that a quarter? Oh no, it's not a quarter anymore. Up until Saturday, a quarter of the managers in the Premier League have managed Watford.
What? Yeah, Rodgers has gone.
Yeah.
Rodgers, Hodgson, Javi Gracia, Sean Dyche, and who's the other one?
Pep Guardiola.
Pep Guardiola, yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
Don't know.
Put it on the spot now. They did say there was 5 though, didn't they?
Yeah.
No
It's
clue.
fantastic. I'm going
Let me
through
have a
the
quick.
team.
I've got great content. I'm going for the league table now.
It's Marco Silva. Sorry.
Marco, of course it is.
Marco Silva,
Didn't
of course.
remember.
Won a couple of games and
Marco
wanted to go to
Silva.
Everton, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, that was him.
Up the Toffees. Yeah. I know you mentioned there about Graham Potter, and I know there's been a bit on Twitter about sacking Lopetegui and getting him in. If he is available in the summer, right, theoretically,
Here we
and
go.
Wolves doing the Premier League, would you swap him with Lopetegui, Dave?
No.
Finn?
No. I think looking at what De Zerbi's done as well, it's not been a good few months for him, has it, overall, for the brand? You could almost say, he's been holding him back. Potter was at Brighton. So, yeah, no. It's the short answer.
I think he's a good manager for what it's worth. I think he'd do a really good
yeah.
job. Anyone around our position, but I just think
Local lad as well.
Lopetegui. I think on 11, give him the summer. I think Lopetegui will put us on a decent playing field again next year. I think.
Jord?
No. I just think you've got to give Lopetegui a proper window, let him bed his own team in, and that sort of thing before you even start to judge him. Really,
They've got a really balanced
I think
squad.
Potter's
It's
a
so
good manager.
balanced.
Yeah. 100%. Like so many, like I say, gut it and start again. It does literally need gutting. Like we could quite easily see fire sales in the summer, and I'd be glad to see the back of a lot of them. To be honest with you, So I just don't think they're up for it anymore. I just don't think they're up to it. But I do think Potter is a good manager, good for a project as well. But yeah, I wouldn't swap Lopetegui for him. We've been after him for like 6-7 years. At least give him a chance.
It's very knee jerk, isn't it? And I think if Rodgers and Potter wouldn't have been sat this weekend, you probably wouldn't see some of the Lopetegui shouts, because the thought is probably, well, we've got Chelsea next, so they're going to have a bounce, and then you might think that Leicester will have a bounce with their new manager. So no, you can't. He's crap at the minute. It's awful, but we are. I think since coming, we're like 11th in the form table, so he has improved us, but I think he's quite a pragmatist anyway in his approach, and
it's just I think it's the lineup. He's not doing any favours start of every game, is he? We're all disagreeing, and if we're all because some people might go, you might have the 50-50, but if we're all disagreeing, and I mean, he is probably a lot more intelligent than us tactically, but our evidence is right in front to disagree with him every week, isn't it? It's either good starting lineup, terrible subs, terrible starting lineup, good subs. Yeah, so it'll be fine then. It'll be fine.
Do you think if we combine our 4 brains, it would have more tactical ability than Lopetegui?
They can't take this out. We've just got to say no to get.
I don't think so. No. No.
Yeah, but Dave, you're like level 1 FA, aren't you?
Yeah, but I couldn't tell my fucking thumb from my elbow. So what, is that the same? I don't know what it is.
Arse on your elbow, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Exactly. That about sums it up. So.
Couldn't tell his thumb from his elbow.
Yeah.
Oh, get that on you. Get that on your headstone. let's just move on to the Betmate pot now. So it's the Premier League 3 p.m. kickoff. So there's loads of games actually at 3 p.m. It's £3 in for your chance to win the share of £300. Before Dave, you take us through your team. There's also the full-time result game for all Premier League games across the weekend. So all you have to do is guess the correct result. So a win for one team or a draw. It's 3 points for every correct prediction. And like I said, there's loads of games for this one. It's £5 in for your chance to win a share of £1,000 with the winner getting £600. So it's a biggie this weekend. So like I said, all you got to do is predict the right result. 3 points for every correct prediction, and it's your chance to win £1,000 with the winner getting £600. But Dave, are you able to take me through your Premier League 3 p.m. kickoffs pot?
Certainly am.
Please.
Some interesting fixtures this Saturday. Actually, I've gone with Emi Martinez in goal for Villa against Forest. I think Villa have kicked on quite well over the last few weeks or so. Really good form under Emery. So I think gone with Martinez in goal. Back Newcastle too, although they are away at Brentford. But I thought they played really well against United. So I've gone with Trippier and Dan Burn as my two defenders. I've gone with Alexis McAllister in the midfield alongside Ruben Neves. And then Ollie Watkins.
Why have you got Neves in now suspended?
Oh, of course he is. Yeah, I'll change. You should have told me. Ollie Watkins. I will change that. Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins with Harry Kane up top.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Jord, do you want to talk us through your team?
Harry Kane.
I've gone with Emi Martinez in goal, Castagne and Craig Dawson at the back, because I still think Dawson's about to put one in the back of the net for us, but we'll see. I've gone with James Maddison, captain, with Jacob Ramsey as my vice captain. And then I've gone with Jared Bowen and Harry Kane up top.
Finn, who have you gone for, mate?
I've got Emi Martinez in goal with Pedro Porro and Kieran Trippier. Yeah. So I've gone for the two attacking right backs. I'm hoping to get something. I've gone James Maddison, probably for that new manager bounce against Bournemouth. He's my vice. And then I wanted to go Jacob Ramsey as well, but I went for two other Villas, and I've put João Gomez in just as a fun one. Hopefully some interception points in there. I was looking at Kante as well, possibly, because he's been injured our sort of whole Betmate career, and I didn't know whether he'd hoover up the interception points, but I don't know whether he'll start. I've got Kane. Shout. And yeah, he's George's favourite. But I've gone Kane and then captained Watkins because I thought Forest were terrible. Like if they drew against us, they're terrible. So Watkins has got the armband, and I've been bottom the last time, haven't I? So it can only get better.
You can't put Kante in though, because you would only last 2 minutes, won't it? A bit like Dave, actually.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't last that long, mate.
lucky girl.
Both got such a lovely smile. You just forgive him straight away.
I've gone with Emi Martinez in goal. That may shock you. Seems like. Did you pick Emi Martinez as well, Dave?
Yeah, all of us. Yeah.
Yeah, all of us have picked Emi Martinez. I've gone with Trippier and Chilwell at the back. My midfield two are Mitoma and Captain Joe Willock, because, again, up and down the pitch, he was fantastic against United at the weekend. And I know that, George, you had a bit of joy with him, didn't you, on Sunday? And then up top, I've gone with Ollie Watkins, vice-captain, and Kai Havertz, because I think if he starts, he could cause us a few problems, despite Finn not rating him. I actually quite like him. So just to recap of that, £3 in for your chance to win £300. That's the Premier League 3 p.m. kickoffs. And of course, don't forget the full-time result games for all Premier League games across the weekend. £5 in for your chance to win a share of £1,000 with the winner getting £600. And of course, with all of that, please gamble aware. Right then, chaps, let's move on to the questions. Thanks for those who have sent their questions in via Twitter and Instagram. The first question is from Craig Hughes, and he's asked, it's becoming a bit of a problem with opposition sides knowing our backroom staff like a bit of an argument on the sidelines, and it's playing into their favour at times. Did Lopetegui staff have their disciplinary issues at Sevilla as well? I spoke to someone who covers Sevilla about this, and not necessarily discipline issues, but he said they do like to wind. They do like to wind like opposition coaching staff up. But do you think it's going against us. Do you think it's as big a problem that people are making out? And I touched on, I know that Lopetegui this week has called for more respect in the game, which I thought was quite ironic. But
I think I don't know. I think it was interesting the comments Steve Cooper made, because he said almost Forest knew how ill-disciplined Wolves staff were, and he used that word, that phrase, ill-disciplined. So I think it was after the to-do on Saturday was after the Adama shout, I believe. And Steve Cooper said he didn't want any manager at their ground trying to mouth off at the fourth official and the referee, and that's why the Forest dugout kicked off as well. And I think in the end it was Pablo Sanz of Wolves got sent off, who's the assistant, and then I'm not sure if it was on the Forest end. But coaches will know, not necessarily Chelsea game, but managers like Thomas Frank, especially in a couple of weeks' time, will think, right, I can really piss these blokes off, especially at Molineux, and then you get the crowd start turning as well. So yeah, he's a bit of he likes a wind up, Thomas Frank. So we've just got to be careful. I think he's playing against us a little bit. You like to see passion on the sidelines. When he first came in, he was like the polar opposite to Bruno Lage, because he almost didn't really look like he didn't really give a shit. But Lopetegui, when he first came in, you think, flipping heck, like this guy, he's showing passion. But now it's becoming a bit of an annoyance that it's just, we look petty, I think, every time it happens, really.
Have you got any thoughts on that, lads?
I didn't know what he was like before. I don't remember anything kicking off in that quarter final, really. But it's a bit of a non-event, wasn't it? Really, the Sevilla Wolves game. I think it's a bit of. I think I used this the last few podcasts at risk of overusing it, but chicken and egg. It's almost that sort of, he's been burnt. I know he went really, really crazy in that Liverpool Carabao Cup, FA Cup game, when he literally had in front of him Nunes being onside, and he got ruled offside. And then ever since then, I don't think they've calmed down. I always remember Neil Warnock complaining about Nuno's backroom staff as well on Sky Sports, and it did feel weird that we went from that crazy backroom staff. They learned to calm it down, to be fair, after a year, didn't they? It was just sort of the first 1 or 2 seasons they were really crazy and they calmed it down. I think that'll just happen the same. I think it's a culmination of a few bad decisions, feeling like we're hard done to, and Forest. That game was always going to boil over in some way. Maybe not with alleged saliva, but it was always going to boil over.
Yeah, well, Warnock was the worst for it, wasn't he? So
yeah,
kids in. I know Dave ain't going to like me saying that, but kids in glass houses. Andrew Hatfield has asked: would a settled starting 11, as much as injuries allow? Injuries allow, be better than mixing and matching each game? I think that you can afford to make a couple of tweaks based on the opposition. But Dave, I don't know about you, but you want a bit of consistency, and you want these players to be able to build those kind of partnerships within a system. So I agree with Andrew on that.
Yeah, I don't think we've played. I mean, people will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've played 2 games with the same lineup consecutively. I think that was part of one of Nuno's successes, really, the first Premier League season. Like, you could almost go in every week and you knew what 11 that he was going to play, because it just worked and it was structure. But at the moment, I think it is. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and I said to you guys before we recorded, if things were a lot more, clearer in regards to who we know is fit, who we know is 100%, who we know isn't carrying a knock, who we know isn't, we ain't already, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and fair enough. But with us, we're sort of guessing at the moment. But I do think a settled 11 would definitely benefit us. I think it's just the fact that, players aren't getting the opportunity. Every match aren't getting the opportunity from the start of the game. But I suppose when you got such a big and strong squad, that's going to happen as well.
Jord, what do you reckon, mate?
I just think there's 2. Like I say, we've said it a few times on this podcast now. He doesn't know his best 11, and until he falls on what he feels is his best 11, that's going to get the most positive results, he's going to keep changing it, and that is to the detriment of the team at the moment. There's like I say, there's no patterns of play, there's no cohesion, different people playing with each other, there's different partnerships all the time, there's not a settled front 3. The only thing that's been really settled is he seems to have fallen on Dawson and Kilman as being his centre-half partnership, which, again, for me, ain't the right 2, but at least it's settled, and at least you know what you're getting with that every week. I just think it's very much horses for courses now to the end of the season. Get the job done, stay up, and they'll probably properly assess it in the summer. But I think it is hindering us big time that we haven't got any sort of settled, or at least a skeleton of a team where, the same 8, 9 are playing every week. That's really hindering us at the minute.
Under Nuno, you could pretty much get a guarantee the starting lineup, couldn't you? And the change was made, maybe a little bit too predictable, but I know that Nuno didn't like changing the plan based on the opposition because he was almost like, well, this is our plan. We go and maximise it as effectively as possible. But, it's one of those. Richard Fletcher has asked, was it a mistake for Wolves to sell their most talented academy graduate for the last 20 years? It doesn't say much for our academy. And when you consider we paid the same money on Jord and Fin, for example, it doesn't sit well. Gibbs White was dynamite first half on Saturday. Finn, what do you reckon, mate? Was it a mistake to sell Gibbs White? Bearing in mind they sold him for £27 million.
Yeah, it's a nuanced one. If we were selling an academy graduate that was kicking and screaming, please, I don't want to leave. I love Wolves. I want to sign the contract. Like, I'll sign anything. It's the situation. And at the time I was torn because he's a really talented footballer. But if he wasn't going to sign a contract and that money was put on the table, it was great business. As you say, that money was, if you say the 27 million, that's all we're going to get. Say we spent that straight on Guedes and he's not even playing for us anymore. So we've essentially sold him for free if you look at it like that. But on paper, he didn't really want to stay at Wolves. He's trying to say at any opportunity, I'm a Man United fan. Like stuff like that, it sort of loses that academy graduate side of things. But looking at that performance in that first half is exactly what we were missing out on. But you could say we had 4 or 5 of those similar players on the bench. There's no right answer in this one, I don't think. He's a very talented footballer. It hasn't worked out. It seemed to become a little bit pantomime at the end instead of as aggressive as it was in the cup game, like with Neves doing what he did. And I think that's going to carry on, and he's going to be a Premier League player. But you're saying all that, what is it, 2-3 goals this season? You're not screaming out if we'd have sold Podence. You're not saying, oh, we should never have sold him. So, and he's got double the goals at least. Is it 2 or 3 he's got, Gibbs White?
3.
I'll give him 3 just to be generous. And I've seen some Forest fans question him on the timeline as well. But yeah, it's one that's never going to have a right answer. But I do sometimes watch him play and think, oh, we could do with a bit of that.
I think he created 6 chances on Saturday, which is more than any other player over the whole game week. But again, like, what constitutes a chance is it playing it to someone halfway through their half and then someone having a dig from range and it makes a great save? Like, is that a chance? Again, I think the line's a little bit blurred on that one, but interesting. Lads, have you got any other thoughts on that before we move on to the next question?
No, I think pretty much what Finn said. I think as an individual sale, I think it was the best for both parties. Obviously, you look at the investment the club have made in other players and you can say, well, it's a waste of money. But if you look at the sale on its own, then I think it was right to move him on. And I think he's been unfortunate throughout his Wolves career. I think I've said this before on the channel.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of managers that haven't really played a system that have suited him as a footballer. He's always been a number 10. Nuno very rarely played with that style of player. Bruno Lage obviously adopted the 5 at the back, so very rarely used that style of player. So I think he's just been unlucky, really.
Dan C has asked, is there an attacking midfielder anywhere in this squad, or we need to wait for another transfer window or two?
Yes, and he's being played as a striker.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We don't play in a system that plays an attacking midfielder, whatever you may mean by that.
I would personally, I think with the Cunha debate we were having earlier, it's every single thing that Cunha's done well this season. I mean, you've got that deflected goal, but you think the goal he set up for Raul against Forest in the cup, the goal he set up for Hwang in the cup again, the other one. That pass before, he's setting someone else up. You've got the bigger man. That's why Costa looked so good as well, because you had him to, well, not so good, but looked average up front. That he could hold the ball up, and then you've got Cunha just there, just off him. I think that's a position to play him in, and then I think that worry would be no more. But I'm not, as we say, we haven't got a quarter of the tactical knowledge Lopetegui has, so there's something holding him back there.
Jord, is there an attacking midfielder in that squad? I think Sarabia links to play better than any of those personally.
Yeah. Same. I place Fabry. I think there's argument to play Cunha, like say, off a striker or place Sarabia in there in the game. People on the weekend slagging him off again and I'm just like, he gets in the half spaces. He's such an intelligent footballer. Like
Easy.
people who just watch him and think, who slag him
He's
off,
not
and
gone
just
past
like,
the player,
just
so he's
watch
proud.
him, please. Yeah, he hasn't done two step overs and like bursted the byline. He's such an intelligent footballer, and I feel like he should be playing inside. He should be one of the first names on the team sheet for me, 100%.
I agree, mate. Dabba D has asked, have you all enjoyed the ride? Not the ride, but just ride Wolves have been on. Tell me about your favourite moments since the Fosun era. I think for me was going into Europe and going to the likes of Braga and Barcelona, more notably Barcelona, because the weather was nice. I don't know what your favourite memory is, Dave.
Yeah, there's been loads. I think, like you said, the opportunity to go and follow Wolves across Europe, even the pre-season tour last year, anything like that again this summer would be appreciated. Well, even like just the odd games, I think ones that immediately stand out to me: Man U in the cup in the quarter-final of the FA Cup, Man City coming back from 2 goals down, really enjoyable games. And they just sticking to my mind. So, there've been. I know we're sort of all doom and gloom at the moment, but there've been some great sort of long-lasting moments over the last few years.
Just on, we mentioned pre-season there. The pre-season tour in South Korea is 99% likely to go ahead, even if we do go down. So, which I don't think the club are actually planning for. So, I think that's kind of suggests where the club's thinking are with Premier League safety. Finn, what's your favourite moments since Fosun took over?
Yeah, definitely that European tour. If you'd have known what was coming, because I dodged. I didn't do Ireland. I didn't do Torino, which by all accounts looked absolutely unbelievable as a trip, because I was trying to be economical with sort of holiday days, and then obviously by the round of 16, no one could go to any of the games. So I'd have done that differently, I think. But just seeing that, I think the two things when I've been watching Wolves in the Championship most of my life, it was to see us at Wembley and see us in Europe. And within those few years, I got to see that. Obviously, not a pleasurable experience at Wembley overall, but yeah, it was just a bit of a dream. And I think that not even one specific moment, just going into every game, like we were talking about earlier, going into every game thinking we had a chance. We haven't had that for a while, but we peaked just before COVID. That Tottenham game, Man City away, as well as that home game, that Adama game. Should have put that bet on 2-0 instead of 1-0. That still haunts me. So there's some regrets in there. But no, yeah, it's been an unbelievable ride. And sometimes I know it's a bit of a cliche thing to go, think of where we were, but sometimes it is a bit of a pinch me to think it was in the Championship all that time, and then the things we've seen, it's been a good time.
Jord, your favourite memory?
Yeah, I think it's all been covered, to be honest with you. I think it's been summarised well by all three of you. I think for me, it's sort of what Finn alluded to, like that first season, well, probably the first 2 seasons back in the Premier League under Nuno, just going into every game thinking, you know what, it didn't matter where you go, in the Etihad, Anfield, Old Trafford, you know what, we can win here. And you genuinely believed it wasn't like we were going to hit someone on the back of their arse and, you're going to fluke it and stodge it. Like just that belief. And like, I mean, in my lifetime, in terms of being in the Premier League, like in 2003 and all that sort of stuff, like even under McCarthy, we were there. We weren't competing. We were just there. We were there to make the numbers up, and it wasn't enjoyable really any of those times. We were just 10 men behind the ball, scratching and round for points. It sounds very much like Lopetegui at the minute, but yeah, for sure. Fosun give us a bit of belief in terms of, in going to any game and win, and brought some good times and good memories. So yeah, got to always be thankful for that.
Just on that, it's just reminded me that on the Express and Star podcast, the pre-Forest one, they made the point, I think it was Liam saying that COVID probably had, I can't remember how he phrased it, I don't want to misquote him, but basically saying it, of all the Premier League teams, Wolves would have been up there in the highest impact, because if you look at that sort of big drop-off, basically the question I was thinking was, where would we be without it? Do you think Nuno would still, do you think he'd have gone by now, Nuno, if
yeah, because I think
if
he had a season like he did when he got sacked, I think he would have gone a lot sooner, because I think he benefited from not having fans in the stadium. But then it's chicken and egg. But would that have happened with fans in the stadium?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It would have been. I think we would have gone. I don't think necessarily would have won Europa League, but I think we would have got Europe again and gone further in the Europa League with fans that season. because we were unstoppable. Across 2 legs, I would have backed us to beat anybody. Then at the time,
Same.
but it's just a shame how quickly things change. I say
Football's
quickly.
very
What was that? 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
4 years ago. So
Yeah.
Football's very cyclical, though. Like we've obviously seen it this season. Managers, especially in a position that Wolves are in, don't last that long, and if they are performing or exceeding expectations, they probably get picked by one of the big boys. So, I no doubt if Nuno would, for example, win the Europa League with Wolves, I think he'd have probably gone in the summer and gone to, because I think we were Arsenal looking for a manager at that time, maybe.
teams like that,
Yeah. So, Trevor Lurens has asked, what does Lopetegui have against Ryan Aït-Nouri? Omitted from the squad for tactical reasons, which, if you read between the lines, means they probably don't see eye to eye. But it's very strange, isn't it?
I don't know what's going on. I mean, we've heard stories before about his punctuality in terms of arriving late to certain things. Don't know if that's got a factor in it. I don't know. He's a very good player, and he started off, under Lopetegui, he started off as one of the brightest players. People couldn't understand why he was on the bench and not starting. So I don't know. I think if things continue the way they are, I think he'll probably be one of the first out the door come the summer.
What do you reckon, lads? Anything?
It could be one that we really regret as well if that happens, because the technical ability there. I always remember, I think it was a video with FIFA that Connor Cody and Pedro Neto did, and it was something about who's the laziest or who's something like that. And straight away, Cody was like, Ryan, he's half asleep all the time. And I don't know whether it's that, because he sort of plays like that sometimes as well, doesn't he? Like he's half asleep and he's so technically good, but I think it's just that personality coming through there, whether that's rubbed him up the wrong way. And as you say, if that's led to lateness or not looking good in training, but yeah, it could be one where you sell him on and you think, why on earth did we do that? But if he's got that attitude to football and he's not going to better himself, if that's the sort of, I don't think it's that drastic, because he's a very, very good footballer, but we'll see.
And the final question is a question from me, actually. We didn't get one of these questions submitted, so I thought I'd chuck one in. So you've got a 5-item fry-up. Your toast is included. What items are you picking? Jordan, I'm going to come to you first, mate. You got 5 items.
So toast is not one of your 5?
Toast isn't one of your 5, but for example, you got 5 sausages takes up 5 items. A sausage and an egg is 2 items.
What about a baked bean?
Wow.
Yeah.
Baked
portion of baked bean.
that changes a lot, you see. One rash is not enough, is it? One rash or one sausage is not on your plate from... Oh, right, so I would go. I think the staple for this is hard, I would go, and again, this is going to probably be very plain, but I would have to go 2 sausage, 2 bacon, and 1 hash brown if you've limited me to 5 pieces.
He's awful.
I was going to say 2 sausage, 2 bacon. To be fair,
yeah.
I think
if you change the stipulations a little bit, there'll be more items, but that's tough.
Yeah, but that's I asked the tough questions, mate.
I think I would go same. I'm not that bothered about hash brown. I'd probably just have like a fried egg or something like that. 2 bacon, 2 sausage. You
need
egg.
something to dip your bread into, don't you? Like a fried egg.
Yeah. So I'll probably go there. Obviously, I'd assume like ketchup or brown sauce, whatever.
Condiments. Yeah. Finn,
if we're on this, like,
I can't wait for Finn's.
Oh god. I'll just have 5, please, mate.
It's like a World War II ration fry up. This is so. If we've got to go within the rules, I'm going to use the toast. I'm just going to make a sandwich out of this, right? So we have 2 pieces of toast. I'm going to have 2 rashers of bacon. I'm going to go 1 sausage, cut it through the middle. Nice. And I'm going to have fried egg as well, Dave. And I do like a hash brown, but does it? Yeah, I'll chuck hash brown on there as well. And I
like I do that at hotels. I do
that, innit?
I do that at hotels. Get toast and then just make a sandwich out of it.
Yeah.
I like a bit of variety, so I would go 1 bacon, 1 sausage, solitary fried egg, a hash brown, and a piece of black pudding.
I knew you were going to say black pudding. I knew you were going to say it.
I love a bit of black pudding.
I reckon anyone outside of England does not have a clue.
The Spanish like black pudding, mate.
Do they?
Yeah, Spanish love black pudding. You're not a fan of black pudding, Jord?
Yeah.
That must be a niche name in Spanish. What do they call it?
Yeah,
the Spanish like black
yeah.
pudding.
I'm not a fan
I've had
either. And, none of you mentioned it there, but I'm not a fan of baked beans either. I'm quite glad
No,
you
I'm
said
not.
that.
I like spaghetti hoops
You're
instead
not
of baked
being-
beans. I love spaghetti hoops.
No, I don't mind baked beans. I
Yeah.
think it's just like it's not high up on the agenda on a fry up. I do.
I'm
No,
not
I'm
asked
not a
about
fan at
mushrooms either.
Well, they call
Mushrooms,
it
I can
blood
take or leave 'em.
sausage. They call it
Blood
blood
sausage.
sausage, the
Blood-
Spanish.
Just
No,
taste like sausage.
Makes sense because it's made from like congealed blood, isn't it? So and fat.
Yeah.
No messing about with that name.
Yeah.
Mm.
Finn, you
Smells
don't strike me
creamy.
as someone who likes black pudding.
You are correct, sir. We know each other too well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Dave, do you like it? You're not fussy, are you at all, mate? You eat anything?
Oh, I've had it. Yeah, I've had it before. I think I had it in Amsterdam, believe it or not. I had it over there with like an English cafe. Yeah, so I've had it, but I don't go out my way to have it. So
It's quite a nice cold, uncooked.
mm.
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
quite
no.
nice. But I love how that's like caused the most debate out of any of the questions where we all agree on each other's points about football. When it comes to fry ups, then it causes a real
Yeah,
divide.
clueless. Yeah, I got a clue. Get him out.
That's all we got time for this week, folks. It's despite the results, it's been an enjoyable one, and we look forward to Chelsea on Saturday. So, gents, thanks for your time as usual. Dave, where can people find you should they wish to follow you?
Yeah, it's at Dave as a Party on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, and Dave as a Party on LinkedIn.
Finn?
Finn is everywhere. FINERRZ. Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Thank you all.
Do you think that there could be a vlog before the end of the season?
The end of the season. Yeah. Well, what is it? Is it the magic 36 points? It seems to be. So we'd need.
Wolves, I believe that internally at Wolves, I think 34 is enough.
Ooh.
So we call
Okay,
it the
so-
magic. I know.
What's that? 2 wins?
Imagine going into like that Everton game. Is
Yeah.
it 2 games ago? We've got Everton. It'd be like, oh, we're on 34, lads. It'll be fine. No, we need
Play the
more
kid.
before then.
Yeah.
So basically, we get 2 wins minimum. So then again, I didn't do one. You know, the Tottenham game, we won 1-0. I gave up at about 60 minutes because it was so turgid. So we need 2 entertaining wins. So probably not. No. I don't know. Well, no, there will be. There'll be 2 entertaining wins.
Next
be
2
Did you
weeks,
fine.
mate.
Did you start vlogging at Forest?
Yeah, I always give it like it's filmed outside Hooters and all sorts of great fun.
Gosh.
Send
Send me that clip.
No, tried to sign Jem up for a job, but no, there was
We're just taking 2 new staff members on with Matt and Jordan. We've got
but short answer, yeah, I think there will be. To be fair, it'd be a gamble, wouldn't it, with Arsenal? If something mental happened, would you make more back in ad revenue than you would selling your ticket? That would be. No, I'd definitely say no. I wouldn't sell my ticket.
That's a question. Obviously, we wouldn't sell our ticket, but hypothetically, what price would you sell it for to an Arsenal fan?
I've got 4.
Yeah.
So,
I'll say
Obviously,
you're taking
we
it.
wouldn't do that.
it's purely hypothetical.
If you're not getting in trouble,
I don't
'cause
mind. I
you
fucking would.
get grassed up, wouldn't you? That would be my concern. That you get fucking grassed up.
Yeah, no money's worth getting banned from Wolves for what is it? What would it be like 20
Oh,
years?
really? I'll
whatever.
tell it at face value if it meant being banned for next
Yeah, I
season.
think it
That's
Discounting.
I was going to club to ban me for next year.
yeah.
I think it's got to be like $1,000, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just like, but then I've seen them go for 25, and I'm thinking, well,
That's
they ain't
cap.
selling
Like,
it.
No,
sure.
no one's sold it for 24.
If they go for 20, mate, I would happily put mine up right now. No.
I reckon they'll go for. I reckon you could quite comfortably clear 5-6K a ticket.
Do you reckon?
If I'm just looking at seat pick at the minute, and obviously you
When you
can't
think
sell
about, like,
tickets from the away end, it's the cheapest one in the upper tier is €1,070.
It will get closer as well. But the
That's
thing
the
is,
top
they
tier.
would have probably secured it before then anyway.
Depends
Well, it
because they got
feels
to play City as well, haven't they?
It's like having
The
stocks,
Brentford
isn't it?
Anfield
Like,
next week,
if you're
so-
looking at, it's going to be like that. If City win and Arsenal lose or whatever, it's going to be like.
I just hope we stay like we're secure and safe by then.
Yeah,
I couldn't
be a
handle
horrible
going there
game.
on the last day.
You are right about stocks thing, because I brought a Euros final ticket for £700 face value, and then England got
Yeah.
to the final, and I could have sold it for $3,000, which hindsight is a wonderful thing because it was crap. But yeah, Jord, where can people find you if they want to follow you on socials, mate?
George was 7 on Twitter and Instagram, and of course, famous LinkedIn.
Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm M Cooper Wrights on Twitter, Matt Cooper Bites on Twitter and YouTube. If you're a fan of curries and mixed grills, we of course are Talking Wolves across all social media. Let us know what you think of the podcast in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. And until next time, take care and look after yourselves.